Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. What I'm going to do is just give you a quick basic overview of the USDA SBIR program, the sort of technologies we don't really look for technology, but we encourage and we are looking forward to receiving from you. Basically, I'm here to answer any questions about the SBIR program that you have found out. So again, thank you for joining us today. Now, the SBIR program is a grants-only award. The ideas are initiated by the principal investigator. So we do not solicit ideas from our investigators. Other agencies, they have specific technological needs because those individuals a lot of times are interested in purchasing the technology that's created. USDA does not purchase any of the technology that's created through SBIR. Very, very few occasions where that happens. Maybe a forest-related item that's eventually created may be purchased by Forest Service, but that's pretty much about it when it comes to those technologies being purchased by USDA. So we are looking specifically those that are initiated by the principal investigator. The awards are based on scientific merit and technical merit, the PI company qualifications, and the overall commercial potential. Because at the end of the day, we want to see these ideas commercialized on the market, whether it's a year or two after the completion of an award or 5-10 years down the line. Everybody's roadmap to commercialization is going to be somewhat different, both in what that means and also how long that takes. But at the end of the day, we're looking for technologies that are going to be commercialized and have good potential to be that. Proposals are reviewed by a confidential peer review panel, and we use outside experts from nonprofit organizations. A lot of times for our phase ones, we use individuals from academia. Very rarely do we use those from the private sector simply because of issues with conflict of interest. But sometimes when we need someone with varying expertise and they're from the private sector, we do everything to make sure there's no sort of conflict of interest with that in order to have them review. And also with our phase 2, we have commercialization experts to come in to review our phase 2 commercialization plans, which are submitted by the individuals. The funds are allocated per topic area in proportion to the number of proposals received. We have 10 topic areas, and what will happen is we usually fund about 15% of our proposals. So for instance, if our forest topic area gets 60 and our aquaculture topic area gets 52 proposals, then they'll get 15% of those numbers respectively. It's not a 15% across the board of the program number. And we do allow for subcontracting to universities and USD labs is actually permitted and it is encouraged. Now our awards, we only offer a phase 1 and a phase 2. Our phase 1 award is for a minimum duration of 8 months, and oftentimes people do request no cost extension, so the longest you can go is 24 months. And our phase 2 awards are for 2 years with a maximum of $600,000. So phase 1, $100,000, phase 2, $600,000. Maximum, you can request less than that, but the maximum we can give you are those numbers. You can obtain a 12-month no-cost extension on any phase 1 or phase 2, and we have individuals and companies that get multiple no-cost extensions up to 24 months. It does not change your allocation of funding. For phase 1, you receive all the funds up front. For phase 2, we have it 50% of the funds are available at the beginning of the award, and the other 50% are released to you after the submission of an interim technical report. The no-cost extensions do not impact that at all. And we also have commercialization assistance programs with both phase 1 and phase 2. The commercialization assistance program with phase 1, the company we contract with are very much keen on helping phase 1 companies with the creation of their commercialization plan that they will submit for phase 2 or with their phase 2 application. Those in phase 2 that go through commercialization plan, it's a more in-depth scenario where we actually have a meeting in DC. They're set up with mentors in various industries and fields. They get education on things like patents, venture capitalists, angel investors, things of that nature. So it's a lot more in-depth as far as getting these companies to a commercialization than a phase one, which is just working on that commercialization plan. And then myself, Scott Dockham, Dr. Cleland, we are pretty much available anytime. Other programs have a blackout period where you cannot contact any of the program staff during the application process. We don't have that here. We answer any question that we possibly can, even up until 5 minutes before the deadline on any given period of time. So we are always available to answer your questions via telephone or email. Now, our topic areas include plant production and protection of biology. These are things focusing on the biological side of things like pest prevention, cultivation of plants and crops. Plant production and protection engineering. This deals a lot with the mechanical aspects of harvesting and growing crops. Animal production and protection. A lot of these topics tend to deal with animal husbandry, disease prevention, things of that nature. Aquaculture, any and everything that relates to aquaculture we have seen in this topic area. Food science and nutrition. This is probably one of my favorite ones. It deals with the food science and where it comes to packaging, detection of pathogens, production of safe foods, but also utilizing maybe things that haven't been utilized before to make new food products. And also the nutrition aspect gets a lot more into the food deserts and childhood obesity. So we've had things ranging from different UV or IR blasters to detect various pathogens being funded, to education programs for kids to teach them to eat healthy and to cook being funded out of this topic area. Air, water, soils, pretty much self-explanatory. Any sort of project really relating to air, water, and soil detection of pathogens, quality, cleanup, those sort of things funded go into there. Forest and related resources. A lot of these projects tend to deal with forest fires. I alluded earlier about maybe technologies coming out of this topic area. Could be and have been purchased by the Forest Service in the past, so it's a possibility. And our last two, rural and community development and small and mid-sized farms. Those two are very much our open-ended topic areas. With rural community development, it is literally any sort of topic or any sort of project you can bring to us that satisfies issues dealing with rural and communities. And that's as wide-ranging as you could possibly think of in your imagination. And then small and mid-sized farms, any sort of topic that deals with small and mid-sized farms. So these are two topic areas where we tend to see the greatest amount of variation with the various proposals that are submitted and are funded. We fund everything from a huge inflatable wind turbine to provide energy for small farms and rural areas, to computer programs to help with methadone maintenance, addictions counseling, and also those that are used for educating Native American children on reservations about math and science. So we fund a varying degree of topics in those topic areas. Now, we support a lot of technology as well, things like information technology, robotics, electronics, biotechnology, nanotechnology, microelectromechanical systems, acoustics, remote sensing. You see a lot of these come up in places where you don't necessarily think they would. That's one of the beauties about our SBIR program, that is, even with those topic areas that are very specific, you still see variations of these sort of technologies crop up. Genetic engineering, materials and coding, food safety, biofuels, machine vision, precision agriculture, engineering, physics, and chemistry. All of these come up every single year within our solicitation and topics and proposals that we receive. Now, how do you apply? USDA, we use grants.gov for submission of all and any of our grant applications. That's not just SBIR, but that is what we use as an agency as a whole. So you would have to create an account with grants.gov. First, you find our solicitation on our website listed there. You would have to create an account with grants.gov, but also you have to obtain a data universal number. system number, and also register with SAM, our System of Award Management. And those of you that have had small business even now or in the past, SAM replaced the CCR number about 4 years ago. So if you have not updated that or applied for anything since then, if you're familiar, then that's what you have to do now. You will register also, well, registergrants.gov, but also you have to register with SBIR.gov as well. About 3 years ago, SBA, which administers the Small Business Administration for the federal government, created a database on the SBIR.gov website for all companies that apply. And part of the mandate of the previous legislation was that any company that was applying for an SBIR needed to register with the SBIR.gov in that database. That provides tracking for SBA to see who's applying for these grants, who's winning these grants, what states we get applications from the most and the least. And that is being used for various other things, including the road tours, which we were there last year in Nebraska. I was actually on site there talking about the program and giving one-on-one sessions. So we use a lot of that data, or they use a lot of that data in order to implement where we go to do outreach. So our proposal schedule for fiscal year 2018, we will not begin soliciting applications until usually it's around late June, early July before our RFA or request for applications is released to the public. And this will be for you will receive your funding next year in 2018. So right now the tentative deadline is about October 5th. Once we receive the applications, they will be screened administratively. They will then, those that pass administrative review will then go to each of our topic areas has what we call a national program leader. These people pretty much run that topic area. They will then review them, break them up, see what sort of topics, expertise they need for our review panels, create their review panels, and then we'll begin to send out those proposals for review once the review panel has been established. And then they'll have time to sit, review them. Usually this happens over between Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then beginning of the year in January, we start our review panels where we bring, most of the time we bring them in-house for 2 to 3 days. We sit and discuss each and every proposal, I say they do, and then they rank them. And the ones that, in this case, in the outstanding or the high priority arena, usually the ones that end up being put forward for funding. And funding oftentimes, as you can imagine, is dependent on what our funding is like from the budget that we receive from the president. So after that, decisions are made early March. So right now we literally finished our last panel last week. So 10 panels within the span of really 6 weeks. You can imagine it's quite intensive here, and we're all happy to be finished. So now we'll have our funding meeting next week. We're still waiting for our budget numbers. So once we have all of that, we know how many we could possibly fund. And then next week we'll sit and talk about each of the proposals that have been submitted for funding, which ones can we fund, which one we like to fund if we're able to, and which ones we just don't have the funds to fund. And then after that, once we make all those decisions, we will then go forth, begin the paperwork on our end with our program and also working with our awards management division to get those proposals into awards and hopefully have those awards begin by June 1, 2017. So this will be the same process for next year. Once we finish our proposals review panels, we'll then have our decision meeting based on the budget, how many we have. We will create our list of proposals that we want to be awarded. From there, we'll work to get all that done behind the scenes with a tentative June 1 start date for those grants, with an ending date of January 31st, 2019. So again, 8 months is the minimum that you can request. You can request more than that, up to 20 months, and then also individuals get no-cost extensions all the time. About 50% of all grantees, both phase 1 and phase 2, ended up getting a no-cost extension at some point in time of varying lengths during the course of their grants with us. Now, phase 2 is only open to those who have completed a phase 1 award. So other agencies have a phase 2 where you can get in without having a phase 1 based on your level of commercialization. Other agencies also allow you to enter in to compete for a phase 2 with them when you've done a phase 1 with another agency. We don't do that. You have to have completed a phase 1 award with USDA in order to, and successfully. So your phase 1 had to have shown that what you wanted to do is feasible and that it works or it can work in order to apply for phase 2 with USDA. With phase 1, if you don't get one, you can reapply as many times as you want. With a phase 2, if you do not get selected for a phase 2 award, you will have to start the process all over again. You can only apply for a phase 2 award once. You cannot continuously reapply for phase 2 on the same topic. So our phase 2 solicitation went out at the end of February, December of last year. We're currently awaiting and receiving applications with our deadline being on Thursday. From there, we'll begin the whole process again with phase 2. We'll go through administrative review. We will then form those out to the national program leaders. They'll then get their panel together, set up review panels. In this case, with phase 2, it tends to go a lot faster simply because we have less proposals. With phase 1, we received about 640 proposals, so that was a lot of time and effort and a lot of proposals to review. And the more proposals, the more panelists and reviewers we need. With phase 2, at the most, we probably receive about 75 because obviously your pool of those who are applying is significantly smaller. So that process should take about a month or two to do the reviews, get the panel together, and those have a tentative start date of September 1st, 2017, with that 2-year period ending August 31st, 2019. So historically, we've been in around the $20 million range for a budget here at USDA. The last year, we had a little bit of a bump because of the signing of the Farm Bill. For the last 2 years, we've gotten a little bit of bump because the Farm Bill got a little bit of extra money into the AFRI program, which we also received funds from. So last year, our budget was about $24.5 million. We funded 77 out of 475 in phase 1 and 34 out of 66 applications in phase 2. This year, we are looking, I think we're looking at a budget of about $22 million. And I may actually be funding about the same based on the funding we carried over from last year in addition to just the sheer number of applications we received this year. So historically, we fund about 15% of all applications that we receive. So this is a breakdown of distribution of winners of SBIR programs with USDA from 1983 till FY 2016. I have pointed a big arrow to Nebraska because Nebraska is one of the states we call underserving or underrepresented simply because we don't receive a lot of applications from Nebraska. It's one of the reasons why the road tour was there last year. As you see, we've received 32 applications from the state of Nebraska. That's phase 1 and phase 2 since 1983. It works out to about almost 1 a year. So it's one of the reasons why Wade contacted me to do this do this webinar to expose more people to the program and hopefully to get more applications. We want to see more applications from those underserved states. As you see, California they've won a lot of them over the years. We have, as you can imagine, a lot of companies are in California and biotech, things of that nature. But we want more winners from Nebraska. So I alluded to before about working with universities and government labs. That is strongly encouraged. A lot of times that helps to bolster the technological expertise of small businesses who apply to SBIR program. So we highly encourage these sort of partnerships. Scientists may serve as consultants and will receive a subcontract. So you can actually hire these people to work on your project for X amount of duration of time, but no more than 1/3 of a phase 1 proposal, the cost-wise, can go to that subcontractor. So of that $100,000, you cannot allot more than $33,000 for a subcontractor. And for phase 2, you can allot up to 50%. So not half a million, but $300,000 can go to subcontracting in a phase 2. Scientists may serve as the principal investigator for an SBIR grant. However, We have a rule where any individual that serves as a project director, principal investigator, whichever terminology you want to use, has to be employed by that company, or their time has to be employed by that company 51% of the time. So during the course of that project, they have to be working for that company 51% of their time has to be coming from their company. And it is usually not acceptable for a university or government scientists to serve as consultants and have all the research done in their lab. So, advice for phase one, provide a vision of where you want to be at the end of phase two. A lot of this is forward thinking, even though with phase one, it is very much judged and scored on the technical merits. As I said before, the whole point of this program is commercialization. We, as an agency, and even the reviewers when they review, they want to know that this can be commercialized. This is something that's worth the time and investment, regardless of how risky it is, to be potentially commercialized. So make sure you have a vision of where you want to be after phase two. Phase one should focus on critical research and its enabling factors. You should sell the importance of your project. You should provide a detailed experimental plan. This is all for phase one. Provide insight into the commercial potential. Again, your commercial potential and that insight is not going to be as robust in phase one as it is in phase two, by sheer point of the amount of pages you have in your narrative to really submit, and also by the time you get to phase two, you should have a better idea of your commercialization potential. And also, you should show connectivity with the communities that you are intending to serve. A lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes you have a problem, but you want to come up with a solution for a problem that doesn't exist, or a problem that nobody really needs a solution for. So making sure that what you're trying to do serves the needs of your community is really critical when it comes to presenting your proposal, or what you say in your proposal, how you present your proposal to USDA, and then by extension the reviewers that are going to review it. Factors that can improve your chance at commercial success. High scientific and technical merits. Now, I will say this is key with those proposals that are very much involved in the science and chemistry and engineering aspects of our program. Those that deal with the more social aspects, clearly the scientific merit isn't really going to be as pertinent. For instance, I spoke about the company that does the children's television program. There's not a lot of scientific merit there outside of basic research as far as kids and eating and educational television, but they aren't doing hard, heavy research, so to speak. So their product isn't about the science; it's about education. So you're not going to have a whole lot of deep, hard-hitting science in a proposal of that nature. Also having good consultants and a cooperative research agreement, we call that CRADA. Usually that happens with USDA ARS labs, business expertise, phase 3 partners. So if you come into a phase 1, even a phase 2, and you have partners lined up, and we see this all the time, we have people who submit applications that have partners ready and waiting for them to finish, because if it works, it's something they're very eager to buy. That is a very good check mark, plus when it comes to that review process and possibly getting funding. A marketing plan, participation in the phase 1 and phase 2 commercialization assistance programs. I've been with the agency 5 years, and I've worked with SBIR entirely since that point in time. And the company we work with, Larta, based out of Los Angeles, has done our phase 2 since I've been here, and they've done our phase 1 for about 4 years. So they do both of our programs, and I have heard nothing but glowing reviews from our grantees with the sort of expertise that is given to them, not just in phase 1 with developing their commercialization plan, but also in phase 2, we're really understanding where to go after that phase 2 with the commercialization and really developing strategies to really become profitable and commercialize their technologies. So all those things are really important and definitely improve your chance of success in commercialization. So You can find all of the information you need at our website listed above, NIFA.USDA.gov/FO/SBIR. You'll find program information. You'll find our current and past solicitations up to a year, links to technical abstracts so you can see what past applicants have done as far as their abstracts are concerned, links to the Small Business Administration, SBA, and other SBIR programs, any upcoming SBIR conferences, finding and the expert through Chris or ARS. So you can find links for it. Say you're interested in particular science and you're trying to find an expert in what you're trying to do, what you're thinking about doing for a project to potentially commercialize, and you need some more expertise from the science aspect on there, then you can use those database systems to look to see if there's anyone who works in ARS or is we funded from USDA before that could possibly help you with what you're doing. There are PowerPoint presentations, success stories, and also an impact newsletter. These here are a listing of the national program leaders for each of the topic areas. Now, unfortunately, we do not have a listing on our website simply because these tend to change. For instance, if you look at air, water, soils, Dr. Carolyn Cruz, she just started in July. Dr. Rachel Melnick has been with the program a year. This isn't updated. Dr. Toby Aarons, who actually should be doing biofuels and bio-based products, he just started in September. So we've had a little bit of turnover over the past 2 years or so. So you won't necessarily find that listing on our website. However, you will find myself, Scott Dockham, who's the program coordinator, and also Dr. Charlotte Cleland. We are the main people in the SBIR program, so if you contact us, we will direct you to the individual the national program leader that we think best fits what you're trying to do. Now, success stories. One of the things with the program, it would not still be around 30+ years later if we haven't had success stories. I would say one of the biggest success stories of SBIR as a whole, not USDA particularly, but is Qualcomm. Qualcomm, if you have a cell phone, more than likely you have a smartphone, you have a Qualcomm chip running your smartphone, and a lot of that technology was created from DoD SBIR grants that they received 20+ years ago. We don't have any huge success stories of that nature, but we have quite a few that have really been commercialized very well, and companies have become profitable. So in this case, we have company Whole Trees, who came out of our forest and related resources topic area. They've gotten a couple, but this one in particular, they received a phase 1 in 2011 for $99,000 and a phase 2 in 2012 for $362,000. At that time, our phase 2 limit was only $500,000. We increased it to $600,000 last year. But what happened, they created a structure around timber substitute for steel and concrete. So they basically created a reinforced timber that can substitute for concrete and steel in buildings. And based on their success with SBIR, they were able to sell this and use this timber in creating Festival Foods grocery store, which was 57,000 square foot in the city of Madison, Wisconsin. And they've also been able to raise $1.6 million from private equity funding since the initial SBIR award. And then you also have Harrisvaccines. Now, I like this company and a couple others because it shows that commercialization is not just about making a product and then selling it on the market and making money from it. Commercialization can happen in very different ways. In this case, with Harrisvaccines, their commercialization ended up being purchased by, I thought it was Merrick Animal Health acquired them. We have another company that was that we have up here usually acquired by Bayer, but they had a phase 1 in 2009 and then a phase 2 in 2009. That's probably 2010 it should be. Out of our animal production and protection topic area, they actually developed custom life-saving vaccines for livestock. And based on their success, they sold 1 million doses in 2012 to 5 to 7 million doses a year currently, and because of that success, they were then purchased by Merck Animal Health. And then we have Nitrate Elimination Company. They've gotten multiple SBIRs, but this one in particular is a nitrogen management kit and testing kit. They received a phase 1 in 2006 for 80 grand and a phase 2 in 07 for $364,000, and this is from our air, water, soils topic area. And this kit is in the final stages to receive EPA certification as a standard method for testing nitrite and under the Clean Water Act. And these kits are currently being used by the USGS soil laboratories. So again, this is where you have a product that was used that wasn't necessarily purchased by the USDA, but ended up being purchased by government entities anyway. And then you have Altaeros Energy. This is the project I was talking to that came out of 8.6, our rural development. This is a airborne buoyant air turbine. So it pretty much, it's being raised up to where the wind is, and say if a storm or something comes down, it can be pulled back down to the ground and anchored. It was first sold commercially in 2015 based off a 2011 phase 1 and a 2012 phase 2. It was actually featured on CNN as part of their 10 innovations, and also in the New York Times. And then ultimately they were invested in by SoftBank. SoftBank, the Japanese company, they've in the recent months promised to put in a lot of investment in the U.S. They actually own Sprint telephone company. They put in $7 million and plan to deploy these systems in Japan. And then you have Freund's Farm. They actually received a phase 1 in 2006 and a phase 2 in 2007. And this came out of our animal and waste management topic area, which was discontinued before I started at the agency. A lot of those topics and points were in phased into our animal production and protection topic area. Basically what they did was they created a renewable biodegradable flower pot made of cow manure. And ultimately they were featured on Micro's Dirty Jobs in 2007. They're now available internationally, and they're also being sold at major retailers and Amazon, cowpots.com, and greenhousemegastore.com. And then there's Eldertide. Eldertide is a company that came out of our small and mid-sized farms. So again, it's not necessarily specifically to the farm, but it relates to the farm. What they did was they looked at elderberries and they tried to find other uses for this crop based on a collective of local growers that they had. So because it led to the development of proprietary juice with benefits that included antiviral protection, particularly against the flu. And because of this, they've had success with a product line that developed it with 3 SBIR awards. They've not just received 1 phase 1, they've received a couple and a couple phase 2s, all kinds of to refine the product and what they're doing in the process and different aspects of the process. But now because of that, they've commercialized, put out a product which is now being Whole Foods nationwide, and they've experienced an annual growth of about 50% per year. And then Trellis Growing Systems, they come out of our plant production and protection engineering topic area. They develop a trellis for the cultivation of blackberries in Indiana, Ohio, and adjacent states. The system protects the plants against the cold and also protects against sun scorch, and it reduces harvesting labor by 33%. So because of this, they were able to successfully commercialize and to establish a blackberry industry where none had been established before, existed before. And they've also, these systems have been installed in more than 60 farms with over 300 acres in cultivation, and that have generated over $9 million a year in sales. And that is the conclusion of my presentation. My contact information is there. I am pretty much in the office Monday through Thursday. I telework on Friday. And I'm always available by email if you need me.
Thank you, Eldon. This is Rick once again, and I'm encouraging at this point everyone to ask their questions through the question function in the box on the right-hand side, and we'll hope some of those come in. Eldon, I got to tell you, that's a wide array of technologies that both on the list of that you had and then in your examples.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things about our program that it's always fun for me because I meet so many different types of people because they're in so many different types of fields and what they're doing, and it's always exciting. It's never the same thing twice as far as USDA and the sort of proposals that we do ultimately fund. It's difficult on us from a review side because we in the MPLs and the panel managers specifically always try to find the right mix of expertise to have on the panel to review because they want to make sure that every panel, everybody knows enough about the topic area really to give a satisfactory review. And with that, when we don't, we will just have one proposal just out there. We tend to get ad hoc, so these are people that are not part of the panel proper, but who we solicit to at least provide a review because they are experts in that field, and their review is weighted just as much as those that are actually in the building.
That's terrific, but I'm sure it adds administrative difficulties for you.
For me, no. My end, for the national program leaders, yes, it can be, especially when you need to do a lot of ad hocs. Now I think we moved toward we really only get ad hocs, at least a lot of MPLs only really use them when needed. Before, a couple of years ago, it was, X amount of ad hocs on every proposal, and that became a logistical nightmare because with ad hocs, you don't always get people submitting their reviews like they said they would, compared to a panelist who's going to be here and so on and so forth. So they submit their reviews because they have more of a vested interest in it than, say, an ad hoc was just submitting review and never being a part of the discussion. But when you just look to find one or two specific subject matter experts when you need them to, we tend to get a higher return on those individuals submitting their reviews.
Well, that's an interesting look under the hood. Once again, thanks, Eldon. We don't have any questions yet. Oh, wait, here's one. Here's two. Well, good. Ask and you shall receive. I was told, make sure I got to the front end of that. Yep. I was told phase 1 is for proof of concept and that phase 2 is for developing a prototype product launch. Phase 3 is business growth. How do you apply these phase guidelines regarding software development? We submitted our proposal and was told that phase 1 is for prototype development and not proof of concept. And that's Todd.
Submitted to us, USDA? Huh.
Well, I don't know that. Here, let's see if we can't give Todd a chance to talk. If you
sure.
Hang on just a second, and I'm looking for his name. There we go. Todd, you should have audio capability at this point.
Yes, thank you very much. We obviously were interested in applying, and so we started doing some research on it, and I had a chance to actually speak with some people in Nebraska about the SBIR program. Ours is a software concept, and it's a rather robust one. I mean, in its full development, it'll probably cost $10 million to develop. And so I want to understand, what does phase 1 entail? And I was told it's proof of concept. You have to prove that this concept is commercial, will be embraced by the market, that it has some potential for commercialization, et cetera, et cetera. And so really, when you think about that from a software standpoint, it really, you're talking about, in our case, probably some type of a market study where you're actually going out and using mock-ups or what have you. Contacted a professor at the University of Nebraska who's head of the marketing department, and got his input and so forth of what should be done in terms of methods for going out and obtaining information from potential customers and so forth, and doing that in a way that's not misleading or not leading those people on and getting good results. So that's the approach we took. And then the idea would be, okay, we'll do this study. These studies can be, there's quite a bit to them. And so, I mean, quite honestly, the amount of funding that's available, that's about all you could probably do. And then the next phase we felt would be the development of a prototype, probably a minimum, what they call a minimum viable product in software development, and a little bit more, introducing to the public, getting it involved and start your iterative development. Well, anyway, so we put all this together, we submitted it, and I got a response that, you don't fund market studies, and really phase one should be for prototype. I went on the web and I found actually some PowerPoints from other people and other SBIR presentations where they clearly say the opposite, that phase two is for the prototype, and phase one is some type of proof of concept. So anyway, I was kind of confused. You know, how do you apply these standards for software development? I mean, at some point, if you're going to have a proof of concept, you're going to be basically developing the software. That's in a nutshell. I mean, then you're really having done that, and once you develop the software, there's really nothing more for you to do. Done. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, yeah. Traditionally, what we tell people is that the phase one is for proof of concept. Now, I can't tell you off the top of my head, because some of the other software projects that I know we've done recently have been more geared towards education, and one with methadone maintenance. I'm not sure exactly where they were with their phase one as far as what it entails, whether they had something already developed already and they were tweaking and working. I'm not entirely sure. What topic area did you submit to?
Well, our application, and it's a bit confidential, but I'll tell you. I mean, I'm not that concerned at this point. Our patents have published, so I'm much less open about what we're doing. It deals with it's an application that would integrate with food retailers, and we would be working with consumers and helping them in a variety of ways with that through that integration. So it basically deals with nutrition, and frankly, we think that a version of this, my business partner, who was with the Food Marketing Institute in Washington, D.C., Senior Vice President of Business Business Relations, Government Affairs, felt that this would be a great product for USDA and helping the SNAP benefits go further, helping people use them more wisely, et cetera, et cetera. We submitted it to the, I believe it was Dr. Williams, is that right?
Okay.
You had those people up in the prior slide, but it deals with nutrition and things like that.
Okay. Huh. It's supposed to be proof of concept. I have no idea what the review is and what their point of view was. I think that's probably what it came down to. But phase one
contacted me literally after we submitted it. I mean, literally within a month, or 2 or 3 weeks after we submitted it, and she said, "Look, yours appears to be a marketing study," and in essence, she was right, because I didn't really know how to do proof of concept in a software concept, unless if you go ahead and develop the software, you're done. I mean, but this is a huge undertaking on what we're doing. I mean, it's a very, very robust concept, and so that's very impractical for me to just go and develop all the software and then show it to the public and as a phase one project to get proof of concept. That's just not realistic. So the only thing I knew how to do in terms of proof of concept is to come up with a concept where we would have mock-ups or visual images that we can show people, carried out by somebody who's skilled in conducting product research. And I was told, well, no, that's market research. We don't fund that in phase one. She said, well, I can consider, would you like me to have your application go forward, even though I think it will be rejected on this basis? And I said, I wrote her back saying, yes, please have it go forward. And I think we're still under consideration. I checked online just a week or so ago. And then I said, and I explained that I don't know how else to do a proof of concept on a software basis other than what we proposed. And it's kind of like saying that no, what you proposed we don't fund, and we don't fund phase two unless you show proof of concept. So it's kind of like a damned if you will, damned if you don't. I mean, there is just like no solution how to fit what we're trying to do within the confines of the definition of what is phase one and phase two.
I understand what you're saying. As far as your first point, since you've already submitted, the view panels are going on. Actually, just finished, so we'll be making decisions next week. So you will start hearing something back in the next week or so, as far as whether or not you received an award, or if you didn't, then you will also be getting reviews back in that regard. And maybe that will help, maybe not. I don't know for sure. However, what I'll do is Scott and I, we've been talking internally and kind of looking toward the future about, how we really handle, in this case, outcomes that tend to be more about data and big data and what people are doing with software, and how we can really incorporate that more into the program. Because right now, the way a lot of our topic areas are written, it isn't really tailored specifically for software. And those sort of requirements, because those requirements as far as developing software is going to be a little bit different than, making garden tools specifically for women that are easier for them to use. So the sort of life cycle and sort of things that need are going to be slightly different. So I'll take that back to Scott, and we're going to be doing the RFA for phase 1 probably in the next couple of months. But I'll bring that to him, and maybe that's something collectively the group could try to improve our language in our RFA, and maybe we won't have that. You will have you and others like you will have a clearer picture of what we want and what sort of requirements and what's allowed going forward. That's probably the best I can really give you at the moment as far as that's concerned.
Eldon, Todd, I muted you once again, Todd, and Eldon, for Todd, I guess. I encourage you, Todd, to take a look at Eldon's email here. Go ahead and phone number and follow up with some of those specifics. I also encourage you, Todd, if I'm not sure where you are, but if you're in Nebraska, certainly reach out to Wei Jing. There are other programs available, and Wei may be able to help you with that. Wei, did you want to comment quickly? I've got another question here. That's why I don't mean to be mean here. I'm just trying to make sure we're managing our time with what little of it that we have left. Wei, did you have another any comment here on this part of the discussion?
Yeah, Eldon, can you talk about the commercialization assistance programs from USDA for phase 1 and phase 2?
Yes, we work with Larta. They're a company out of California, and they do commercialization programs with a couple of other agencies with SBIR as well, so they have a lot of expertise. But phase 1 is very much geared to helping companies going through phase 1 establish their commercialization plan for phase 2 application or submission. And that's very much just a series of webinars and contacts assisting people to write their commercialization plan. So that's pretty much all it's for phase 1. And it's not going to be as robust as phase 2 because phase 1 is only 8 months typically. So that's pretty much all it's geared to. Phase 2 is different. If you do receive a phase 2, we have a meeting of all of our PDs and associates for phase 2 here in DC. Larta comes out with representatives, but also Larta assigns each company a mentor to work with during the course of commercializing their product and the next steps for a phase 3 after phase 2, because we only fund phase 1 and phase 2. We don't do anything with phase 3. So that individual then is your mentor, someone you can talk to, someone you can work with, and really trying to chart a path toward your ultimate points of commercialization after you finish the phase 2. And that process is throughout the whole life cycle of your phase 2 awards. So for that 2 years, that mentor is yours. The resources of Larta as they dispose or allow to you for phase 2 commercialization are there for you as well. And again, a lot of things dealing with venture capitalists, angel investors, patents, and just in general commercialization, they are there really to assist you moving forward.
Okay, thank you. I have another question here from Danielle. We're okay to move on to that, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Hey there, I was wondering, I am a small business that so far sells jam, jellies, syrups at craft shows and a few small town stores, and it really has done well, but we are looking into going into stores now and also getting into the produce fruit tree side of things. We would like to build a certified kitchen on our farm with a little market store also. Now my big question is this the right kind of grant we should be looking into? I am just having a hard time or don't know where even to begin. Wei, we're going to turn this over to Eldon first, and then Wei, I'm going to encourage you to chime in as well. Go ahead.
On the outset, I would say no, unfortunately. And from what I gather, what you're trying to do is you have an existing product and you're simply trying to scale up. What I would say, don't necessarily take my opinion, but send me an email and it sounds like it may be more to maybe Dr. Jody Williams, or I will ask a couple people, MPLs within the program and topic areas that may go to and get their opinion. But ultimately, it sounds like you're just simply trying to find a way to scale up an already existing product and not necessarily create a new product or a new category product, or use a non-traditional food crop to create a product. If one of those three were part of it, then potentially I would say yes, but right now it just seems like you're just trying to scale up. So unfortunately, probably not, but send me an email and then I can just ask others to get their opinion, especially the MPLs, because sometimes depending on your circumstances, it will just fit, where just a brief sort of description of it, it wouldn't, but you give more details and we may find a way to fit it where you can actually apply for the program.
Thanks, Eldon.
Wei, did you have anything you wanted to add on to that?
Yes, and Dan, if you are in Nebraska, our state government has some, funding opportunities, and I hope you can come over to my office. Maybe we can talk about later.
Just for your information, folks who are on the call, if you are in Nebraska, Wei Jing and my name's Rick Yoder, are here to assist you. We operate at the Nebraska Business Development Center in the College of Business Administration at the University of Nebraska at Omaha. The general number is 402-554-2521, and we have a team of people not only here in Omaha but throughout the state who can help you. Okay, no other questions that I can see. Did you, Eldon, I think, did you have, oh, wait a minute. Nope, no other questions. So, Eldon, did you want to give a summary or final comment? And Wei, I'll give you the last word, and we'll wrap it up.
I say, if you have any questions or just want to read more up on the program, go to our website, look at our solicitation last year for phase 1. You can get a better idea of all of the topic areas and what they're, I would say, looking for, because you still can propose topics and research to us, but they give sort of parameters of what sort of guidelines they're looking for in each one to give a better idea of, really what our SBIR program is all about compared to the presentation I gave. This is just an overview, the real meat and potatoes of what we want and what we find are going to be found in that solicitation. And also, call me, email me. I'm here to answer your questions, to help you out as best I can, because ultimately I work for you, and I'm just trying to do the best I can to make sure we have enough people apply for the program, enough quality applications coming through to get funded.
Okay, thanks, Eldon. And I also want to say, NBDC, we provide, assistance for SBIR's TTR application. So if you need anything, you can just contact NBDC, contact us.
So I was on mute. Okay. Thank you, everybody. We're 3 minutes before the full hour, but I haven't seen any other questions come in, and everyone's given their summary comments. So with that, we're done for the day. Thank you so much for attending.